Let's now shift our attention to what is happening in France, where a fundamental issue in France has come to light once again. The issue is, of course, of racism, and there's been widespread cases of racial profiling that have been reported in France. The rights activists have been arguing about this for decades, but now the fight is reaching the courts. A lawyer representing a rights group is going to argue in Paris, and the moment is being dubbed as nothing less than historic, because it is the first class action of its kind against the French state. 6 French and international organizations have in fact joined hands, and this includes the Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch and the Open Society Justice Initiative. They want the French authorities to be held accountable for racism and also for failing to prevent the widespread use of ethnic profiling. The data seems to be on the petitioner's side. The numbers suggest that non-white young men are 20 times more likely to be stopped for checks. Now, the French government has repeatedly denied this kind of discrimination. The case, of course, comes just 3 months after a 17-year-old was shot dead by the police. Nahel Hazouk was in fact stopped for a traffic violation after a verbal altercation. And Nahel was in fact trying to flee from the scene. The police officer shot him point blank. Now, this was the 13th killing of this kind this year alone, and most of the dead have in fact been either black or of Arab origin. Another case that has gripped France was in 2016 when a 24-year-old Adama Traore was killed. He died in custody after being restrained by the police. The death triggered riots and protests against the French police brutality against people of color. We'd earlier spoken to his sister, Asa, who's been fighting for justice for him ever since. Now, she's complained about the racist treatment by the French authorities, where people of black and North African heritage are routinely stopped by the police. They're also asked to show their identity papers with absolutely no explanation whatsoever. So much so that even the French nationals are forced to carry their identity card at all times. Now, the issue of racism in France is deeply linked to the country's colonial past. The politicians try to brush it aside, but the people of color face racism on a day-to-day basis. The France of 2023 lives by the ideology, or at least it tries to live by the ideology of liberty, equality and fraternity. But this remains a privilege for a part of its society, and liberty, equality and fraternity is not something that people of color experience in France. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.